I'm going to pause while the motorcycle goes by. I believe that was Santa Claus with a sidecar motorcycle. All right, to kick things off, we're going to talk about my truck. This is a 2024 GMC Canyon. This is the Elevation Edition. So, like I said, I'm a regular guy. When I was buying a truck, I knew what I wanted in terms of the looks of the truck. I did a lot of research on, say, things like TFL off-road and TFL truck, just kind of understanding what are some of the models and things I should be looking for. And this was coming in, this and the Colorado were kind of the top rated at the time. But where I say I'm a regular guy and not like an off-roading specialist, I didn't know about things like what's the major differences between an Elevation and an AT4, for example. So things like having a low range on your four-wheel drive system. Hindsight being 2020, I might have been better off buying that. But, I think for what I've been doing so far, sticking to those like 3-level trails at the most, I've been doing okay with just four-wheel drive high so far. But that being said, you want to learn about what we've customized, what mods I've put on so far, so let's talk to those things. Some of the initial things that I wanted to change about the truck, wasn't super happy about the red and chrome logos. I wanted to kind of do a blackout, so I did the very popular, you could find at least 1 million other YouTube videos on this process out there, and that was using the Plasti-Dip method to black out these front logos. So you do get those points when you're buying a new truck through GM. So I use the points actually to swap out the remaining badging on here. So along the side over here, you can see I got the black Elevation badges, anything with the Canyon logos and such that we'll show you in the back later. If it's something that we see later, people are interested in, let us know in the comments. I can kind of talk through my experience with changing, how you remove the logos, what things worked for me to get the old ones off, which is like really 95% of the challenge. The other small change I made is I wanted to add some of those cool Raptor lights that I see, on the Rangers and a lot of the Toyota models. So this was basically some cheap lights. I think they're from like Nilight. You can find those on Amazon. If we remember, we'll try to put the link in the bottom. I know a lot of times other YouTubers promise that and forget, so we'll do our best to try to remember. But I think these were in like the $20 range, if I recall, just to get the set of 3. The best part of this though is like to make all this work, you needed some sort of mechanism or a printed mod to make the lights mount and clip into the standard grille. So there's one guy who, if I had been prepared, I would have remembered the name of his site. So we'll share that in the links below. He 3D prints these and they fit really awesome. Well done. I've had it on for about a year now. I'm not seeing any fading or any problems with them so far. So that's all worked out really great. And it does add a nice little extra bit of flair to your car. While we're talking about lighting, I haven't done a lot of other changes other than these NOVSIGHT X series. We added those, I guess, about a few months ago now. I ordered the ditch pod brackets from CBI. In a lot of the different forums, people talked about problems with these 3rd gen Canyons and Colorados with brackets causing a problem of kind of breaking or the cowling away. This was supposed to be the one that was better and not actually causing that. If you don't get it installed right, for whatever reason, the way they've put these cowlings in place, it's super easy to snap off one of the clips. But otherwise, the actual brackets went in super easy. Just take your time, be careful, line up the tape and all the things else I'm sure you've seen on other videos if you're interested in doing that yourself. But once that's done, that part's pretty easy. I haven't made any investments in, say, like a third-party lighting controller so far, since the only added lights I have are just these pods. I've taken advantage of the internal aux switch that GM provides with the truck. The biggest challenge here, and if Steve was on the mic right now, I'm sure he'd help attest to it, but getting that darn wire through the firewall is very daunting and very scary. I'm afraid while you're poking through there, I might actually break something or poke something important, which would turn out to be very expensive. Luckily, we didn't run into that problem, but it did take us quite a while to get through all of the finagling to get the wiring through. But once that was in place, I was able to wire these up, both for turning on the main light with the AUG switch, but also these have a kind of the cool feature is this running light X that happens in the middle. Whenever the car is running, you get not only the front lights and the other daylight running happening, but you get the X lit up constantly on the truck itself. So kind of a cool little feature, and if you like the styling of it, I highly recommend them. They've been great for me so far. Kind of one of the first things I did was replace the side steps on here. This truck came with the OEM side steps, and while those steps were good from a functionality standpoint, I quickly learned before I went to take my first off-road trip that you lose probably about like 3 inches of clearance if you were to leave those on. So anything that you're driving over, you'd probably land on them and likely snap them, if not at least just bend them. I wanted something that looked a little more off-roady, but kind of keeping within my budget at the time. So I replaced those side steps, and in this case, I went with a product from NFab. These are Nerf bars. They're not necessarily going to provide you any sort of, say, heavy-duty protection, like if I were crawling over rocks. But for me, the most important thing at the time was just kind of improving the look of the vehicle while maintaining most of my clearance. And from that point of view, it's worked out fine. Next up, and this is the most recent mod and the thing that I love that's changed up the look of the truck the most, is the wheels and the suspension. Stock suspension was fine, but it was definitely not anything that would help you from an off-roading standpoint. Plus, I wanted to kind of get rid of the rake that comes with these standards. So what I invested in, and I don't know if we can get in here and see very well, but this is the iBox Stage 1 kit. So what I have this set at right now is for leveling in the front, and I'm at standard height in the back. And that really just kind of improved the overall rake, gives a little more clearance in the front. Really, I've loved the suspension so far, because I feel like while it does kind of handle a little bit more of the bumps and the ruts from an off-road standpoint, it also gives me the same feel that I had with the OEM suspension on road. So nice smooth drive. Might be a little soft for some, but for me, for what I know, I'm really enjoying it, and I feel like it's pretty comfortable. Continuing on, I've had this suspension in place, I guess about 10 months now. It's set me up a little bit for upgrading my wheels and tires. So the stock size wheels on these elevations is an 18-inch wheel with I want to say a negative 24 positive 24 offset, and the tires were somewhere around a 32. So what I've upgraded to recently is I got these Icon Alloy wheels. These are a positive 12 17-inch wheel. So I am getting, slightly further away, but still like it's not actually poking outside of the flares, which might look cool, but I do also appreciate not getting a lot more mud or potential rock chips on the side. So this has been really a good offset for me. And wrapped around those are Mickey Thompsons. So these are a 285/70 R17, so approximately 33 inch. So between the two, I've raised up about 1.5 inches in the front with the leveling kit, and then the tires give me about an extra inch, so really that's another 1/2 inch of clearance, I would say, overall. But really love, the look of these. It gives a bit more of a rugged look to the tire than the stock ones do. But most importantly, I love these wheels. I kind of went back and forth, probably looked at like 100 different wheels over the time. These I purchased from Custom Offsets. Great experience there if you're ever looking for making a wheel tire combination. Everything shipped, arrived super fast. Steve and I were able to put those all on our own, so we can actually change a tire. We're not totally incompetent IT geeks. So we actually took care of all that, and it's been great so far. Love the look. So I guess we can move a bit to the inside of the truck. Not a lot to show off here. You know, I did change out floor mats for the rubber floor mats. You know, used again some of those GM points to get the rubber floor mats inside. But kind of the coolest mod and the thing that I've gotten the most use out of so far is I do have the Bulletpoint mounting system. So this is the RubiGrid. For those of you that have a GMC Canyon, there's this little kind of cubby hole behind the screen, which I guess maybe you could sit your sunglasses or something in and then probably forget them because it gets hidden by the screen. And then they'll bake out in the sun and melt and not fit your face properly anymore. So I never really used that. This system works awesome. You know, it's really just like two small parts that you drill into that original plastic tray that was in there to mount on, clips it all back in, then use the rest with the original screws. Locks in place awesome. And then you have that track system where you can have all different kinds of add-ons. So like in my case, I have one that has a MagSafe for holding my phone up there, and then another one where you can mount an action cam to. Also from Bulletpoint that I almost forgot, I added this MOLLE panel that connects up under the visor. So this is good for, like here I'm keeping, you know, a box cutter and small flashlight, as well as mounting on my garage door opener. And here's the thing, I'm sure people are going to think this is ridiculous to call out, but if you have an older garage door opener, like for some reason they made these, apparently all of the sun visors in the past must have been much thinner, because that little clip never slides over the darn visor, right? So this has actually been helpful in that area because I just clamp it on to that little MOLLE panel. Stupid thing, I added a little piece of foam to offset the distance in place, but now that kind of holds in place really well. It doesn't rattle when I'm driving around, and I don't have to worry about like stretching out or mashing up the visor in the process. Small things, but it's the small things that make life awesome sometimes, right? So continuing on to the back of the truck, really, I think this may have been the very first thing I bought when I got the truck. So my prime reason for wanting a truck was to do some truck things, right? So I needed to haul, probably the nearest term is my daughter was leaving to go to college, and we needed to move basically a dorm room's worth of crap up about 2.5 hours away. So I wanted to do that without it all getting wet. So the first thing I invested in was actually a tonneau cover. So in this case, this is from RealTruck, this is the BakFlip M3. So this is a tri-fold hard tonneau cover. Pretty easy to install. It's really a matter of, you have these two kind of brackets that go one on each side. There's tubes then that feed from those that you can, where water's caught, actually put it out through some of the drainage holes that are built into the truck. And then accessing it is really just a matter of unlatching at all these 3 points along the way, so you can have different levels of openness as you need it. So like for example, most of the cases when you're making those honeydew trips with your wife, you're going to Costco, you know you're going to buy a bunch of you know, cold items you need to bring back, so you have the large cooler in the back. Put that along the back, probably only have to flip one level up instead of opening all the way. But if I do need to access most of the truck bed, I can. If you have it fully open and you want to travel that way, then you can lock it in place with the poles on each side so it's not going to flip back on you. Simple thing, but you know, I think it's been really sturdy for me. I'm considering, now that we've been doing a bit more camping, maybe moving more to a camper shell. As you'll see on some of those videos, the way I operate right now when we go out camping is using the truck bed to camp in. I bought a truck bed tent that'll go over the top of it, that'll basically give me coverage while I'm in the back, but still work alongside the tonneau cover. We'll show a bit more about that in a later video. So really, I think that's all the main highlights that I'd want to talk about on the truck. We're still early phase and doing this practical like a regular person who doesn't have somebody paying for everything for them. So I've been happy with it so far. It's been, everything that I've added is added function and made the truck, I think, improve the looks overall as we go. So looking forward to sharing more with you about it as the build continues. So if you're a person like me and looking to find a bit more on content around you know, things that aren't Toyotas, check out our channel every so often and you might find some new little details that I'll be able to share that I've found in the GM world. All right, so if you've enjoyed this video as much as I have sharing the information about my truck, and you're, say, somebody who's invested in the GM world of mid-sized vehicles, keep following us. I'd love to continue to build out and share what I've been able to find so that others of us that are in this GM space can learn from one another. If you're getting value from this, please remember to like and subscribe. You know, we're a new channel, it's gonna help us out a lot.